Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going beyond those compounds that organisms just use for growing, right? The ones for just energy, the basics.
Yeah, we're talking about those other fascinating compounds, secondary metabolites.
Yeah.
And nature just seems to make a ton of them.
It really does. It's amazing. And for anyone listening who's ever tried to wrap their head around these scientific concepts, you know it can be a bit overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
So this is going to be like a crash course. We're diving deep today into some major categories, glycosides, saponins, polyketides, and lignins, coumarins, and essential oils.
Nice. Covered a lot of ground today.
We are. And we're going to break down their structures, their sources, even their impressive biological activities. Ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So let's start with glycosides. What's really cool about these is this simple idea, right? We have a sugar. It's linked to something that's not a sugar. And that combination unlocks all these new ways the molecule behaves.
Right. It really does. It changes its solubility, how it interacts with,
Where-
with biological systems. It's like you're attaching a delivery system to it.
Uh-huh, exactly.
And that sugar, often it's glucose, but it gets attached to this wide range of non-sugar partners. Could be a steroid, a flavonoid, you name it.
It's amazing. And that link is the glycosidic bond.
Right.
And it's often like a bridge made of oxygen. And that creates a ton of diversity. And if you think about it, take cardiac glycosides, for example.
Ah, yes. So these are ones where you've got a steroid at the base, and they have a pretty potent effect on the heart. They actually interfere with the sodium-potassium pump, which is vital for that regular heart rhythm.
Oh, wow.
And you've got digoxin and digitoxin, which come from, the foxglove plant, and they've been used to treat heart conditions for a long time.
Wow. Okay. And then we have flavonoid glycosides.
Right.
Here, the flavonoid, it's attached to the sugar,
Uh-huh.
which makes these antioxidants even more soluble.
Yeah, it increases their stability, too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so you've got rutin and quercetin glycosides, and then the anthocyanins. Those are the pigments that give berries their vibrant colors.
Oh, cool.
They all fall under this category, and they're known for protecting our blood vessels.
Interesting. All right. What about anthraquinone glycosides? What are those?
Okay, so these ones, their non-sugar part actually gives them a laxative effect because they actually stimulate the muscles in the colon.
Oh, wow.
So you've got things like senosides, which you find in senna, and alloimitin glycosides, which come from aloe vera. They're good examples of that.
Okay, so they make things move.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Then you have cyanogenic glycosides. These are really interesting to me
Yeah.
because of this defensive role they play. So if a plant gets damaged, they release hydrogen cyanide,
Right.
which is pretty amazing. Amygdalin, in bitter almonds,
Yeah.
and linamarin in flax. Those are examples of that.
Yeah, those are good examples of that kind of natural defense mechanism that plants have.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then in the vegetable world, we have glucosinolates.
Uh-huh.
So these are found in, broccoli and other cruciferous veggies. They've got that sulfur-containing non-sugar part, plus the glucose.
Okay.
And when they're broken down, they actually produce these compounds called isothiocyanates,
Okay.
like sulforaphane, which not only gives them that pungent flavor, but it's also being studied for, potential anti-cancer properties.
Interesting. Oh, and we shouldn't forget saponins. Those are another kind of glycoside, right?
Yeah, they're another important group.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about those next. What are saponins all about?
Well, what's really key to them is they have this dual personality.
Uh-huh.
They've got a part that loves fat and a part that loves water.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot like soap, actually.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and that's actually why they can foam in water.
Oh.
And it all comes down to their structure.
Huh.
So they have this non-sugar part, which is either a triterpenoid or a steroid, and then that's linked to these sugar chains.
All right.
That's what gives them this unique ability.
Mm.
And it also leads to some really potent biological effects.
Mhm.
For example, they can disrupt those cholesterol-containing membranes.
Right, right.
And that membrane disruption is what causes their hemolytic activity.
Mm.
But it also contributes to their potential in fighting cancer cells and microbes.
Oh, wow.
And what's really interesting is they can also boost the immune system.
Really?
Yeah, they act as what we call adjuvants in vaccines,
Oh, wow.
like Quil-A and the
Oh.
ginsenosides that are in ginseng.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you think about diet, saponins can actually affect cholesterol absorption.
That's right.
And they're showing promise as antimicrobial and antifungal agents too.
Yeah, they are. And it makes sense they're involved in plant defense because that bitter taste can deter, things from eating them.
Right, right.
So you find them widely distributed in plants like legumes, quinoa, ginseng, licorice, even the soapbark tree.
Wow, so many different plants. Okay, so we should probably move on to a completely different class now. Polyketides.
Yes.
Okay, so these are a hugely diverse group of compounds, and they're built by these enzymes called polykide syntheses,
Yeah.
or PKSs. And if you think about it, it's kind of a more complex version of how our bodies build fatty acids.
Right, it is. And it's fascinating the variety you see in PKSs.
Uh-huh.
So like type I, which you find in fungi and bacteria, they're kind of like modular assembly lines.
Oh,
They create these complex molecules like erythromycin and lovastatin.
wow.
Whereas type 2, which are in bacteria, they're more like individual workers that are building these aromatic structures,
Oh, interesting.
things like tetracyclines. And then you've got type 3, which are simpler enzymes, and you find those in plants.
Okay,
And they often contribute to the creation of flavonoids.
interesting. And what about the building blocks for these?
Well, the building blocks are actually pretty simple. You've got starter units like acetyl-CoA
Uh-huh.
and extender units
Hmm.
like malonyl-CoA.
Okay.
And it's those different combinations and the modifications that happen during assembly that lead to just this vast array of structures with all these diverse pharmacological activities.
Yeah, it is incredible.
Just consider the impact that polykides have. You've got the antibiotic erythromycin, the antifungal amphotericin B, the immunosuppressant rapamycin, and then you have the cholesterol-lowering statins.
Oh, wow.
Even some natural pigments belong to this group.
Really? Okay, so they are all over the place.
They are.
All right, so let's move on to lignans. Tell me about those.
So lignans are formed when two of those phenylpropanoid units, which are often derived from coniferal alcohol, they join together.
Uh-huh.
And they have this characteristic linkage, and you find them in many plant sources.
Okay.
What's interesting is how common they are, especially in seeds, like flaxseed and sesame. They're known for their antioxidant effects, and they also have the ability to act as what we call phytoestrogens.
Right, I was going to say, yeah, our gut bacteria can actually transform them into enterlignans. Uh-huh.
And then those interact with the estrogen receptors in our bodies,
That's right.
potentially having like both estrogen-like and anti-estrogen effects.
Yes.
Which, makes them relevant in areas of like hormonal health.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
And research suggests they have anti-cancer potential, and they offer cardiovascular benefits as well. Examples include psychoacetylsuriresinol, diglycoside, and materesinol.
Wow, those are big words.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to coumarins. What are those all about?
So coumarins are these aromatic compounds that have this very distinct ring structure. They can be simple, or they can have, more complex additions, which leads to different classifications like furanocoumarins and puranocoumarins.
Interesting.
And what's remarkable about them is their diverse range of actions. So some, like decumarol and warfarin, they're very potent anticoagulants.
Wow.
They act as vitamin K antagonists, and they're really crucial in preventing those blood clots.
Oh, wow.
And then you've got those furanocoumarins.
Like psoralen, which become active when they're exposed to UVA light.
Whoa.
And that property is actually used in treating certain skin conditions.
Oh.
But it can also cause these photosensitivity reactions with some plants.
Interesting.
And beyond that, coumarins also have antimicrobial, antifungal, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory properties.
Wow, they do a lot.
You can find them in plants like sweet clover and citrus fruits.
Oh, okay.
So moving on to essential oils.
All right. Last but not least.
Yeah. So essential oils are these really fragrant, volatile mixtures that are extracted from aromatic plants, often through distillation. They're kind of like that concentrated source of a plant's aroma.
Right.
And their composition is really key here. They're mainly terpenes and terpenoids, along with some other volatile compounds. But that specific blend can vary a lot between plants, which gives each oil its unique properties.
Right. You think of aromatherapy, how lavender's calming, but then peppermint, it's invigorating. They also have antimicrobial properties, which is why you see things like tea tree and oregano being used. And they're used in food, fragrances, even as insect repellents.
Yeah, they're really versatile.
They are.
And there are all sorts of extraction methods to make sure we capture these valuable volatile compounds effectively.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I think we covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
So to wrap things up, I mean, these secondary metabolites, they just showcase the incredible diversity and ingenuity of nature.
Right.
And they really do have far-reaching implications.
They do. This has been a quick but insightful journey, I think.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Giving everyone listening, I hope, a basic understanding of these vital compounds.
It makes you think, with all these compounds already out there that we've discovered, what else might we find
Yeah.
as we continue to explore? So many more surprising and beneficial molecules, maybe even in ways we haven't imagined yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.